Meet our hero. 55 years old, battle-worn, and absolutely done with this life. While others are planning retirement, he's stuck wondering where it all went wrong, calling his entire existence a failure. But self-pity has to wait, because the welcoming committee just showed up, and they are not friendly. He's caught between two raging dragons, and they aren't even giving him a second to catch his breath. While his old rivals earned legendary titles like Sword God, this guy got a whole different kind of reputation. They call him the swordsman with dementia, and that insult is the real reason his life feels like a joke. And just when you think you know his story, we're hit with a flashback to the day his world shattered. He was an orphan, and this teacher was the only light in his dark world, trying to be brave for him until the very end. But in this world, even the kindest souls meet the most tragic fates right before your eyes. And just like that, the monsters turned on the only family he ever knew, and all he could do was watch. And just like that, he was the last one left standing in a world of ghosts. This all started the day the sky itself broke open, unleashing hell on Earth. An endless tide of nightmares poured into the streets, turning cities into their personal hunting grounds. And in the chaos, the monsters made sure he had absolutely nothing left to live for. But just as despair was about to swallow him whole, a flash of steel cut through the darkness. He was literally seconds from the end, staring up from the dirt at his final moments. Except it wasn't a monster that stood over him. It was a hero, shining like a star in the middle of the apocalypse. And with two simple words, she didn't just save his life, she saved his soul. For a boy who had only known tragedy, this was the first and only miracle he'd ever seen. But wait a second, the person he remembers saving him wasn't the knight. It was this guy? He saw those heroes and swore on his life that he would become just like them. He poured every ounce of his soul into fighting, so why did the world just spit in his face? No matter how many beasts he put down, there was always a bigger one waiting to prove he was nothing. All that bloodshed, all that pain, and he hadn't gotten strong enough to matter, because when it counted, he was still just a boy watching everyone he tried to protect fall. This is the memory that broke him, the failure that has haunted him for decades. And as we snap back to the present, a mysterious figure taunts him. Someone knows his deepest shame. His old body is failing, the pain is overwhelming, and he knows this fight is his last. With no dreams, no home, and no one to remember him, he has absolutely nothing left to lose. So as the dragon unleashes its final attack, he closes his eyes, convinced his life was a complete and utter failure. With his last breath, he admits his entire life has been one giant soul-crushing regret. And just as the lights go out, he makes a desperate, impossible wish to go back and do it all over again. But instead of the afterlife, he gets a system message. He didn't just survive, he won. Wait a minute. This isn't the end. This is chapter 1. And just like that, we're back to the beginning of his misery. Meet Shin Sang-yun, the 55-year-old who's too old for this. 30 years of fighting, and his greatest achievement is being barely in the top 100. Talk about a participation trophy. In a world full of legends, he's just another face in the crowd, or so he thinks. His reward is a legendary skill book, and his first thought is, can I eat this? But the moment he touches it, a literal god crashes the party, and they've got their eye on him. This isn't just any god, it's the late bloomer model student, and it looks like our old man just got the ultimate sponsor. He's so used to being a nobody that he's thanking a literal god for picking him out of the bargain bin. The catch? This god's power only kicks in at level 850, turning our old man into a ticking time bomb of potential. Too bad he's currently level 650, making this godly contract feel more like a cruel joke. He's had this power for decades, but the insane conditions meant he's never gotten a single benefit from it. And now his tiny floating god is getting impatient, basically yelling at him to eat the legendary prize. Turns out, his one-of-a-kind skill is the ability to literally devour artifacts for power. Which explains why he spent years trying to boil priceless relics like they were dinner. He even tried frying them, but all he got was a reputation for being a crazy old man. By the time he gave up on his artifact cookbook, 30 years of his life had vanished. He finally realized he didn't need a frying pan. He needed to sink his mana to unleash the feast. But he figured it all out 30 years too late, watching his life slip away while others became legends overnight. So with the key to his entire future in his hands, he has absolutely no idea what to do next. He's literally asking a legendary artifact for an instruction manual, and his tiny god is just as clueless. Turns out even his divine sponsor has no idea how this ultra-rare skill works. Talk about terrible customer support. The god tells him to just try again, saying they have a lot of time, and those 3 words just broke something inside him. He absolutely loses it, screaming that he's almost 60 and his time is completely, totally gone. He's trying to explain mortality to an immortal being, and the god just looks like it's buffering. After his breakdown, he just slumps, admitting it's not the god's fault, it's his, because his entire life has been defined by one single soul-crushing regret. And it all comes back to the hero who saved him, the person he spent his whole life trying and failing to become. He's not just tired, he's admitting defeat to the one enemy he can't beat, time itself. His despair is so deep, it even leaves his immortal sponsor completely speechless. So he does the unthinkable. He tries to fire his own god and cancel the contract that could have saved him. But this god is not accepting his resignation, and it unleashes a power that literally shatters his reality. He's pulled into a vortex of light and memory, with the god telling him to watch very, very closely, because this isn't just a memory. It's the exact moment his 55-year-old life ends. And then we're ripped away to a news report, explaining the basics of this broken world, dungeons and gates. We meet a corporate powerhouse, the CEO of the Hyunjung Corporation, breaking down how players get strong. She explains that gates aren't just monster portals, they're gateways to entirely new dimensions. And who's watching this broadcast? A young man who looks suspiciously like our hero, 30 years ago. And just like that, our hero confirms it. He's back, and that smile says he's ready for revenge. He's not just back in time, he's been thrown a full 30 years into his own past. One moment he's dying on a battlefield, the next he's waking up in the tiny apartment where his misery began. He's got the body of his 25-year-old self, but the mind of a 55-year-old battle-hardened veteran. And he knows exactly who to thank for this impossible second chance, the god he just tried to fire. With decades of future knowledge, he's not confused anymore. He's ready to get to work. His first move? Grabbing a starter-level dagger that looks like vendor trash to anyone else. But this isn't just some random bronze-tier weapon he got lucky with back in the day. Because this time he knows its secret, a hidden skill that will change everything. Forget the stats, forget the rank. With the knowledge of a failed future, he's about to unlock this weapon's true power. He plunges his mind into the dagger, entering a digital void where the real power-up begins. This is the gap of unconsciousness, a mental kitchen where he turns priceless artifacts into gourmet meals. And as the dagger materializes, he holds his breath, waiting to see what's on the menu this time. Forget some mythical power-up. The legendary weapon has just been served up as a perfectly cooked rotisserie chicken. And yes, the system is calling it exactly what it is, rotisserie BBQ chicken, drizzled with olive oil. He's just relieved it's not another centipede dish because apparently that's a risk he has to take. With one bite, he's not just eating chicken, he's literally consuming the dagger's power. The reward is immediate, a permanent agility boost and the weapon's hidden skill unlocked. And as he finishes his meal, the physical dagger shatters into dust, its purpose fulfilled. He calls it a shame, but with that smirk, you know this is just the first course in his revenge tour. Step 1 complete. With a new skill in his pocket, he's not just ready for the future, he's ready to rewrite it. And his first stop is Dungeon 85, a place he knows is about to become a major turning point in history. But before he can even get started, we meet the raid leader, a guy who clearly thinks he's the main character. A manager runs up to report that our hero, the new porter, is a no-show, only to be told he's been promoted to the front lines. And just like that, a rookie is suddenly on the main combat team and nobody has a clue why. The team leader shuts him down cold, basically saying, "I'm in charge, so deal with it." The manager is trying to talk sense, but he's arguing with a brick wall who loves breaking the rules for his own amusement. And when logic fails, the team leader resorts to a little bit of good old-fashioned intimidation. With a smile that could curdle milk, he reminds everyone that his word is law and questions are not welcome. So this is the toxic leadership our hero is walking into, a perfect storm of arrogance and abuse. Even the team leader's right-hand man can't figure out why he'd risk the raid on a total unknown. And the reason is pure evil. He's not promoting a rookie, he's setting up a sacrifice. They're literally laughing about sending him to his doom when our hero strolls in like he owns the place. With a smile that says, "I know your secrets," he introduces himself, ready to play their little game. He can feel the daggers in their stares, but he's not just expecting it, he's counting on it. The team leader lays on the fake charm, welcoming the lamb he plans to lead to the slaughter. But then his eyes lock onto Sang-hyun's weapon, and that smug look vanishes instantly. Sang-hyun plays the part of a clueless newbie perfectly, claiming he learned his sword skills from YouTube. The leader tries to intimidate him with a friendly warning, but our hero just promises to try his best with zero fear in his eyes. And the leader completely falls for it, laughing at the rookie's spirit while Sang-hyun is already 10 moves ahead. The raid leader gives the signal, and the lambs march confidently into the lion's den. As they step through the gate, they're not just entering a dungeon, they're walking straight into Sang-hyun's carefully laid trap. The other players are already bickering over kill counts, completely oblivious to the real monster standing right beside them. But the team leader can't shake the feeling that he's being watched by the very person he plans to sacrifice. He's still fuming over the YouTube excuse, thinking our hero is treating this life-or-death mission like a game. In his mind, Sang-hyun is just an arrogant rookie with a death wish, and he's more than happy to grant it. He smirks, knowing this dungeon is called the Wailing Wall for a reason. It's where newbies go to be broken. He's already picturing the rookie's demise, convinced this idiot is about to learn his place the hard way. But then his brain short-circuits as he tries to process the impossible scene unfolding before his eyes. Because the stupid idiot just single-handedly wiped the floor with the entire welcoming committee, and the raid has barely even started. The raid leader's plan just went up in smoke, and he's left asking the only question that matters. Who is this guy? That's not the look of a newbie. That's the look of a predator who just found his new favorite hunting ground. And now for a quick biology lesson. Meet the orcs, the dungeon's resident punching bags, or so everyone thinks. This familiarity breeds contempt, leading every player to make one very dangerous assumption. The number one rule every rookie believes: orcs are weak. Sure, compared to a literal dragon, they're not winning any awards, but that's a deadly comparison to make. And this is exactly why overconfident players charge in, completely unprepared for the reality check. But our hero isn't arrogant. He's a veteran, and he's about to give them a masterclass in orc disposal. Or is he? The simple monster just got the drop on him, and that confident smirk is gone. Because this is the part rookies forget. Weak is relative when you're being held by a 180-kilo wall of pure rage. Because that's the part they forget. Against an orc, the power gap is absolutely overwhelming. The team marches on, a conga line of overconfidence heading straight for a reality check. And right on cue, the team's tank gets in his face, promising him he's on his own. Even the porter is seething, calling him an arrogant bastard for daring to act like a real player. But Sang-hyun just flashes a disarming smile, playing the part of the clueless rookie to absolute perfection. An act that only makes the tank angrier, who basically tells him trying isn't going to cut it. So Sang-hyun drops the act and asks to fight on the front lines, leaving the entire team completely stunned. And just as they're about to explode, the first monster appears, and our hero's only reaction is, oh, perfect timing. He's ready for his first fight since regressing, but the tank shoves him aside, desperate to prove a point. He's not just stealing the kill, he's trying to show the rookie what a real player looks like. The tank absolutely loses his mind, screaming that Sang-hyun is too slow to even be on the field. He's so busy lecturing the rookie that he doesn't notice the giant axe about to introduce itself to the back of his head. And with his last words being, "You should be grateful," the orc brings its weapon down for the final lesson. Except it's not the tank who takes the hit, it's Sang-hyun, stepping in at the last second to save the guy who was just insulting him. He doesn't just block the attack, he sends the monster flying, leaving the entire team speechless. But the raid leader is just annoyed, yelling at them to stop sightseeing and get back to work. The tank, now thoroughly humbled, steps up to finish the fight, desperate to regain a shred of his dignity. He braces for impact as the orc charges, and for a second it looks like a fair fight. But as his shield cracks under the pressure, you can see the panic setting in. This is not nothing. He lands a hit, but it's like throwing a pebble at a mountain, and the orc doesn't even flinch. The team erupts in cheers, thinking their leader just landed the killing blow, but Sang-hyun's smirk says otherwise. Except the orc didn't get the memo, and that smile says it's just getting warmed up. The fatal wound was just a minor inconvenience, and the orc is ready to return the favor. And just like that, the tank's confidence shatters as he realizes his best shot was a total failure. Here's the problem. Their strongest player is only level 50, and he's barely scratching the monster's paint job. Humiliation turns to rage as the tank throws everything he has into one last desperate attack. He's screaming for it to die, but all he's doing is proving how completely outmatched he really is. Against all odds, he actually does it, leaving the entire party stunned that he won a solo fight. He plays it cool, asking if everyone's okay, but that sweat-drenched smile tells the real story. And just like that, the hero worship starts all over again. with the team completely oblivious to how close they just came to disaster. But just as the tank is about to start his victory speech, the dungeon decides to interrupt with a roar that shuts everyone up. Because round 1 is over, and the real monsters just showed up to the party. The team's bravado completely evaporates as they realize they're staring down a wall of high orcs, and they are hopelessly outclassed. And the hero who just struggled to beat one orc? Yeah, he's the first one to suggest running for the hills. But just as their leader is about to sound the retreat, Sang-hyun steps up with the 5 most insane words you can say in a dungeon. The entire team loses their minds, thinking the rookie has officially snapped under the pressure. The tank tries to pull him back, giving him the calm down kid speech, completely unaware he's talking to a living legend. But Sang-hyun doesn't have time for lectures. He's already charging headfirst into a fight the entire team just fled from. And with a single effortless swing, the impossible high orc is cleaved in 2 before it can even blink. The entire party is left speechless, trying to figure out how their porter just did what their strongest player couldn't even dream of. He just did the impossible, but he's not celebrating. He's annoyed because he's still only level 1. Oh, you just made them angry, and it looks like their leader is taking this very personally. He's surrounded, outnumbered, and outleveled, but he's about to drop the coldest line of the series. Because stats don't matter when you have 30 years of battle experience packed into your soul. And just like that, the battlefield turns into his personal dance floor, and the orcs are just his unwilling partners. But here comes the big boss, ready to turn our hero into a pancake with one swing. That smirk says it all. He's not just fighting them, he's toying with them. And then he hits them with the ultimate insult. I've cleared out more of you than you can count, and that was on a bad day. The rest of the team can only watch in shock as their porter single-handedly dismantles an army. With the field cleared, he points his blade at the last one standing and delivers the final verdict. You're next. The final boss of the grunt steps up, and this one came with the deluxe armor package. And it is absolutely furious that our hero just turned its entire squad into EXP points. Sang-hyun goes for the kill, but his blade just bounces off, proving this thing is built like a literal tank. The party's actual tank starts screaming that its skin is too thick. Yeah, we noticed. Thanks for the update. The orc winds up for a counterattack that could level the whole room, and Sang-hyun is right in the blast zone. But while everyone else is panicking, our hero just smirks and tells them to chill out, because it's time to reveal the hidden skill he got from that rotisserie chicken dagger. Meet Demon Bash, a skill that doesn't do damage. It just hits the pause button on any enemy for 20 seconds. He doesn't even need to dodge. He just stops the orc's world-ending swing with one hand. And with a smile that's colder than the dungeon floor, he tells the monster to hold that pose. The orc is trapped in a nightmare, its world-ending attack frozen in time while its mind screams in silent rage. And with one clean follow-up, Sang-hyun ends the fight, leaving the entire raid team staring at the aftermath in stunned silence. The tank's brain completely short-circuits, his entire understanding of the world summed up in one simple question. What did I just witness? He's not just shocked. He's doing the math, and a rookie who awakened 3 days ago shouldn't have a skill that powerful. In fact, that stun wasn't just good. It lasted longer than what even the world's top players could manage. And suddenly, that "I learned it on YouTube" excuse is sounding a lot less like a joke and a lot more like a terrifying lie. The raid leader is officially sweating, realizing the hindrance skill just worked on an armored boss like it was nothing. But Sang-hyun just turns around asking, "Is that all?" While the leader's mind is screaming about where he got that impossible skill. And just like that, the system rewards his one-man army performance with his first level up and a brand new title. He couldn't care less about the level, but the system just called him a fearless, immature puppy, and that's just insulting. He's got 1 point to spend, and with a smirk, he's about to make the most broken build this world has ever seen. Forget strength, forget agility. He's dumping it all into luck. The one stat he knows will rewrite his entire destiny. The tank finally confronts him, his brain still smoking from the one-man army performance he just witnessed. He's demanding answers, because a skill that powerful doesn't just fall into a rookie's lap. Sang-hyun hits him with the most infuriatingly smug lie. "Oh, this old thing? I just got lucky." And the tank absolutely loses it, because nobody is that lucky and he knows it. He's not buying the act for a second, accusing him of hiding a legendary weapon. Because that sword isn't just a weapon, it's radiating a power that screams top-tier loot. So Sang-hyun calls his bluff, offering up the sword with a smile that says, "Go on, I dare you." And the reveal is a total mind-breaker. The legendary sword is just a piece of vendor trash with zero special abilities. The tank's world shatters as he realizes the impossible skill didn't come from a weapon. It came from the rookie himself. And just like that, 2 years of grinding feels like a complete joke next to a newbie with a god-tier skill. But personal meltdowns will have to wait, because the dungeon's middle manager just clocked in and he looks angry. The raid leader tries to play it cool, but that sweat bead says he's officially lost control of this entire raid. The tank tries to put him back in his place with a passive-aggressive warning, telling him not to get too cocky. He then drops the real bombshell. That game-breaking skill is useless against the final boss they're about to face. And with a smirk that could freeze hell, our hero remembers the real reason he came back to this specific doomed party. He turns the tables on the leader, calling him out in front of everyone and asking if he's too scared to continue. Then he drops the ultimate gamble. If he solos the boss, he's taking the legendary artifact for himself. With a smile that says checkmate, he reminds them of their own rule. The best player gets the biggest prize. The prize is the Crimson Stone, an artifact that only drops from the very monsters they're about to fight. But its drop rate is so low, it's basically a myth, something you hear about but never actually see. Except in his past life, after his team got wiped, he watched another crew get their hands on the one that got away. And that's the look of a man who has spent 30 years regretting not being the one to claim it. While they were celebrating their payday, he was memorizing the one detail that would change his future. Because this stone grants the delay skill, a power so rare it's considered a game changer. And that's the exact skill he needs to turn his one-trick pony build into an unstoppable force. So as the team hesitates, our hero stands alone, ready to claim the prize he lost decades ago. He's not asking for permission, he's telling them how it's going to be, and they have no choice but to watch. He knows he sounds like an arrogant rookie, but this isn't about showing off, it's about securing the first piece of his new destiny. The team officially thinks he's lost his mind, getting in his face for daring to make a demand. The whole team explodes, screaming that a rookie has no right to even think about the boss prize. But just as they're about to jump him, the leader shuts them all down with 2 chilling words: do as you please. But there's a catch. Our hero only gets his shot if the entire main party wipes first. He's practically daring him to try, convinced he's calling a bluff that will get the rookie killed. And Sang-hyun just smiles, agreeing to sit back and watch them fail, which was his plan from the very beginning. And just like that, the raid leader storms off to face the boss, leaving our hero to enjoy the show. He's absolutely fuming, calling Sang-hyun a cocky bastard who thinks one broken skill makes him a god. This isn't about loot anymore. He's going to clear this dungeon just to wipe that smirk off Sang-hyun's face. He's convinced experience will win the day, completely unaware he's walking into the exact trap Sang-hyun wanted. The raid leader steps into the boss room, ready to prove a point, and comes face to face with the main event. Meet the bloodthirsty demon orc, a monster that's about to teach them the true meaning of middle boss. The leader rallies his troops, putting on a brave face for the cannon fodder he's about to lead. He's got a foolproof plan based on bad intel, convinced this fight is already in the bag. And his real motivation? Making sure our hero doesn't even get a turn just to rub it in his face. With a battle cry of pure arrogance, the entire team charges headfirst into their own doom. And in the blink of an eye, the invincible leader is on the floor, his brain completely failing to process his own defeat. As he stumbles to his feet, he sees Sang-hyun standing there without a scratch, watching the whole disaster unfold. Sang-hyun can only sigh because he honestly can't believe they fell for the most obvious trap in the book. And with the entire party wiped, he remembers, this is the exact moment his original team was annihilated. The invincible leader is now screaming what everyone else is thinking. They are all going to die. He's finally realizing that the easy boss he read about online was a complete and utter lie. So with his pride in tatters, he makes the only call he has left. Run for your lives. But the team isn't looking at the monster. They're glaring at the one guy who isn't even breaking a sweat. As they scramble for the exit, they're already making excuses, pretending this was a strategic withdrawal and not a total rout. But before he leaves, the leader stops to have one last word with the rookie who saw this all coming. With a look of pure malice, he abandons our hero to his fate, making it clear this was his plan all along. But Sang-hyun doesn't even flinch, just tightens his grip and tells the leader not to worry about him. And then he hits them with a smirk that says, dying, oh no, I'm just getting started. With the rest of the party gone, it's finally time for the main event. One man versus the monster that broke an entire team. He admits that on paper he's toast. But stats don't matter when you have 30 years of rage-fueled experience. He doesn't just attack, he unleashes a lifetime of regret in a single perfect parry. But the monster just smirks because that perfect parry felt like nothing more than a gnat buzzing in its ear. The retreating party stops dead in their tracks, their brains short-circuiting as they realize the rookie just deflected a one-shot kill. Sang-Yun just shrugs it off, admitting his hand stings a little, a taunt so cold it freezes the entire room. And there it is, glowing in the monster's chest, the crimson stone, the key to his entire future. He's not just after a trophy. He's here to combine its delay skill with his demon bash to create something truly broken. Right now, his stun only lasts 2 seconds, a decent party trick, but not a game changer. But with his Devours skill, he can stack effects, turning a 2-second pause into a permanent "you don't get to play anymore" button. With the plan for an infinite stun lock in his mind, he smirks at the boss and says, "Come on, I'm waiting." The boss charges, but Sang-Yun isn't backing down. He's staring right at the prize. He's not scared. He's smiling because the monster's rage is about to show him exactly where to strike. He's not just dodging. He's mapping out every flaw, turning this fight into a surgical operation. And just like that, he hits the pause button, freezing a raid boss with a skill that shouldn't even work. The rest of the team can only watch in horror, realizing the rookie's party trick is actually a game-breaking cheat code. But Sang-Hyun is just disappointed, basically telling the boss it's not living up to the hype. With the monster frozen, he goes for the kill, ready to end this fight before the 2-second timer runs out. He puts every ounce of power into a final, devastating blow meant to shatter the Crimson Stone. But just as victory is in his grasp, his face drops. He's forgotten one critical, fatal detail. Because this boss has a secret ability, self-regeneration, and it just broke through his unbeatable stun. His unbeatable stun has a 15-second cooldown, and in a fight like this, that's an eternity. So with his cheat code on standby, he switches to Plan B, just beat it the old-fashioned way. He's not just fighting, he's making a raid boss look like a clumsy amateur, and he's barely breaking a sweat. The party is frozen at the exit, watching the guy they left for dead put on a show that defies all logic. The tank's brain is officially fried. The rookie's only trick failed, so why isn't he a red smear on the floor yet? No skills, no stats, no hope. So how is he still standing there with a smile that says, "Is that all you've got?" And that's the question that's terrifying them all. Is this really a newbie or something else entirely? Because this isn't his first impossible fight. It's just another Tuesday for a man with 3 decades of battle scars. He knows he's too weak to win a head-on fight, so he's switching tactics from brute force to pure, calculated genius. Forget trying to break the monster. He's going to use its own overwhelming strength to shatter the prize right out of its chest. He's not just fighting. He's using the monster's own body as a hammer to smash the prize right out of its chest. And just like that, the raid boss is history, and the system is raining level-ups on the guy they left for dead. He even gets a new title, Demon Hunter, which basically turns him into a walking regeneration tank against the very things he hunts. He's already collecting titles like they're free samples, and he's not even trying yet. And right on cue, the party of cowards returns, ready to demand answers from the man who just saved all their lives. But our hero already has a plan to shut them up for good, and that smile says it's going to be absolutely diabolical. He drops to the floor, putting on an Oscar-worthy performance and giving the leader credit for a kill he had nothing to do with. The leader's brain completely short-circuits, trying to figure out how he's suddenly the hero of a fight he ran away from. And that's when the gears start turning, as he realizes the rookie isn't just strong, he's playing a completely different game. Sang-Hyun drops the act, his eyes turning to ice as he gives the leader a choice, play along or be exposed as a fraud. The raid leader finally admits it. This isn't just a loss, it's a complete and total surrender to a monster he never saw coming. So he swallows his pride, plays the part of the hero, and rallies the troops for a fight he knows he already lost. As the party leaves, they're still gossiping about the rookie's useless skill, completely oblivious to the master plan unfolding behind them. And with the audience gone, Sang-Gyun lets the mask drop. It's time to claim the prize he's been chasing for 30 years. He stares down the legendary Crimson Stone, and with a smile that could terrify gods, he asks it one simple question. Ready to be dinner? And just like that, he's back in his mental kitchen, the gap of unconsciousness, where artifacts go to become 5-star meals. But instead of a mythical beast, the legendary stone has been transformed into a bowl of spicy cold noodles with meat jelly. He sits down to his victory meal, ready to absorb the power that will officially break the game's rules for good. With one bite, he's not just eating noodles, he's devouring the very concept of time itself. And the reward is even better than he hoped. A permanent stat boost and the delay skill, turning his 2-second stun into a "you're done" button. And the system confirms it. He's not just stronger, he's officially unlocked the delay skill. He's about to combine 2 game-breaking abilities, and even he's not sure if the world is ready for what comes next. With a single command, he's about to create the most broken combo this world has ever seen. The system doesn't just say yes, it gives him the ability to chain stuns, turning a pause button into a permanent lockdown. Sure, the odds go down with each hit, but even a chance to stunlock a raid boss is a power no one has ever had. His wild theory wasn't just a guess, it was a prophecy, and he just unlocked a guaranteed 4-second stun. But his private celebration is cut short by the last person he expected to see, the tank who wanted him dead. The tank basically begs him to join the final boss fight, but Sang-hyun's smirk says he's not interested in being backup. He looks the tank dead in the eye and says, no. But this isn't a rejection, it's a negotiation. And the tank doesn't just accept it, he offers a full partnership, realizing he's not talking to a rookie but his new boss. Sang-hyun agrees to the team up, but with a smile that says, I own you now. With the new power duo formed, they're ready to face the boss, leaving the old leader stewing in the background. The raid leader tries to rally his shattered team, but that look in his eyes isn't leadership, it's desperation. The tank tries to play the hero, but one look from Sang-hyun reminds him who's really running this show. And just like that, they're in the final boss room, staring down the monster that's about to end their careers. Forget the middle manager, this is the CEO of Pain and it has been waiting for them. Meet the Orc Berserker, the final exam for a party that's already failed every other test. The tank tries to step up and lead the charge, but he's about to learn his new role as sidekick. Sang-hyun doesn't wait for an invitation, he just walks past the tank and takes the lead like he was born for it. While everyone else is panicking, our hero is just doing the math, and he's realized this final boss is actually a downgrade. He's not just confident, he's already calculated the victory, and this boss is just a math problem. For the first time in his life, he's not questioning if he can win, he's wondering why he ever doubted himself. Because his past was defined by fear, a terrified kid just trying not to get noticed. And his future was a slow, grinding defeat, a life he absolutely refuses to live again. So with a single parry, he declares war on his own pathetic history. This isn't just about changing his past, it's about seizing a future that was never meant for him. And to do that, he needs to put on a show they'll never forget. He's about to prove to this entire party that the rules of their world no longer apply. And the tank finally gets it, his brain screaming the one word that describes the rookie. Monster. Because this isn't a fight, it's a one-man demonstration of what overwhelming power truly looks like. He unleashes his new combo, and the system confirms it. 4 seconds of pure uninterrupted lockdown. With the boss frozen, he gives the signal, and the entire party charges in for the easiest kill of their lives. The monster can only roar in frustration as it becomes a living training dummy for a team it should have wiped. And just like that, the raid turns into a dog pile, with everyone landing hits on a boss that can't even fight back. The dungeon is cleared without a single potion used, and the team is left wondering if that was even a real boss fight. He's gone from a sacrificial lamb to the hottest free agent in the business, with porters already fighting to carry his bags. But he couldn't care less about their approval, and the system rewards his cold-blooded efficiency with a double level up. He even gets another title, with overwhelming power, which buffs the very stun that just broke the entire dungeon. He does the math, and his 4-second stun is now 4.4 seconds, a level of broken he never even dreamed of in his first life. But even with all this power, he's not celebrating, because in his mind, he's still nothing compared to the one man he could never surpass. Meet Do Gyung-soo, the complete sword, the final boss of every player's career, and the one man Sang-hyun could never beat. In his past life, he was a god to be worshipped, but in this one, he's just the final name on Sang-hyun's hit list. And for the first time, he's not just dreaming of catching up. He's calculating the exact moment he'll leave the legend in his dust. But future plans have to wait, because the tank he just saved is demanding to know what he's doing, and Sang-hyun's answer is pure, unadulterated sass. Instead of a punch, he gets a paycheck, as the humbled tank offers him a reward for a job well done. The tank admits it. Sang-hyun didn't just help, he carried the entire raid, and this is his way of saying, I know my place now. He tries to play it off as a cheap gift, but Sang-hyun's smirk says he knows exactly what this is. A surrender. Then he drops the real reason. This is a parting gift, because he knows they'll never be in the same league again. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but he admits Sang-hyun is already living in a different world, and our hero just pocketed the proof. But while one rival is admitting defeat, another is stewing in the corner, and that look of pure hatred promises this rivalry is far from over. And while our hero cashes in, the humiliated raid leader is already on the phone, plotting his revenge on the entire party. But back at home, Sang-hyun is completely oblivious, living his best new life. He's practically glowing because for the first time, being a player actually feels like winning the lottery. And speaking of lottery, the tank didn't just pay him, he deposited a small fortune into his account as a sign of total surrender. But the cash was just the appetizer, because the tank also threw in a parting gift that's worth more than money. It's the Berserker Ring, a bronze-tier artifact that comes with a nice little strength boost. But its real power is a skill that makes heavy gear feel weightless, a dream for any frontline fighter. There's just one catch. The mana drain is so intense it would bankrupt any normal player in seconds. But that smirk says it all. For him, a flaw like that is just an opportunity in disguise. Because in his past life, he didn't just use artifacts. He studied how to break them, and he remembers every single secret. Because he knows a secret that turns trash-tier artifacts into god-tier weapons. By accepting a minor penalty, he can completely erase an item's mana cost, turning its biggest flaw into his greatest strength. And with a smile that says rules are for other people, he's ready to add another broken skill to his collection. Meanwhile, in a VIP room across town, the raid leader he just humiliated is trying to salvage what's left of his career. He's desperately trying to convince his boss that the rookie's impossible 4-second stun was real. But his rant is cut short by a voice that reminds him exactly where he stands on the food chain. Meet the guild master, a man who hears about a game-breaking player and his only reaction is, so what? The raid leader pathetically begs for revenge, but his boss is already bored with the whole conversation. The guild master gets his attention with a single chilling word, setting him up for the final lesson. And just like that, his complaint is permanently silenced, proving the most dangerous monsters don't live in dungeons. The guildmaster isn't just angry, he's delivering a lesson in corporate hierarchy with the sharp end of his sword. And for his next trick, he turns a fancy drink into a tool for ultimate humiliation. With a smile that promises nothing good, he finally asks the million-dollar question. So, where is this rookie? Meanwhile, the rookie in question is at a training ground, completely unaware he's just become the most wanted man in the guild. He's just finished his latest power-up meal, and judging by that look, this one didn't go down easy. Because the legendary Berserker Ring turned into a bowl of cucumber soup so foul, the system literally warned it could kill him. But a little food poisoning is a small price to pay when you've just unlocked another cheat code. He puts the new skill to the test, and that giant slab of metal is suddenly moving like a feather. He's not just strong, he's literally defying physics, and that look says he's just getting started. The system confirms it. He traded a mana cost for a minor penalty, turning every weapon he owns into a lightweight toy. He's wielding a sword that could crush him, and his only thought is, don't drop it. He takes one look at his new stats and is already planning his next broken combo. He's only been back a few days, and his stat sheet already looks like a veteran's wish list. But stats are for mortals. He's ready to start shopping for a god to sponsor him. And he's not just looking for any god, he's looking for one that will supercharge his luck-based build into oblivion. But even he knows you can't just walk up and ask a god for a job. You have to earn their attention first. So with no shortcuts available, it's time for a good old-fashioned training montage. And after 3 days of non-stop grinding, our hero looks like he just lost a fight with a washing machine. But he's not complaining, because all that exhaustion just bought him another brand new skill. It's a basic swordsman skill, but in his hands, basic is just another word for unstoppable. With his training done, it's time to test his new skills in a solo-exclusive dungeon. And while normal players wait months for a spot, our hero just pulls up like he owns the place. But his private party is about to be crashed because he's not as alone as he thinks. He spots the tail, but he's not worried. He's just wondering who was dumb enough to follow him. And with a smirk, he decides to settle this little dispute where there are no witnesses. So he dives headfirst into the gate, practically inviting them into his new playground. And right on cue, the welcoming committee of wannabe thugs makes their grand entrance. The leader is already confused, wondering how they all got into a dungeon meant for one, because while they're trying to figure out the rules, Sang-hyun is just sitting there, waiting for the lesson to begin. And with a look that could freeze fire, he makes it clear. They didn't just enter the wrong dungeon, they entered his. The leader of the welcoming committee opens with a charming insult, completely unaware he's talking to the dungeon's new owner. But Sang-hyun just offers them a free pass, telling them to walk away while they still can. He's already clocked their setup. A party with no healers isn't here to fight monsters. They're a PK squad known as the Hyena Pack, and they specialize in making players disappear. They just laugh, promising him that no one will even be able to find his body. But he's not just aware of the danger, he's been waiting for this reunion. The archer steps up to take the first shot, but Sang-hyun's already identified him as the primary target. The leader is finally confused, wondering why their target looks so relaxed. And then Sang-hyun drops the coldest line of the day, asking what better place there is to get rid of 4 bodies. The thugs finally realize they didn't trap a rookie, they just volunteered to be his next EXP farm. The leader of the pack offers him one last chance to surrender, promising to make this easy for him. But even his own goon is starting to wonder if they're the ones who should be scared. Sang-hyun just yawns and tells them to stop wasting his time and come at him all at once. And that's the last invitation the thug needs before he completely loses his mind. He charges in for the first strike, screaming that he's about to shut the rookie up for good. But as the attack comes, Sang-hyun's mind goes somewhere else, back to the one rule that governs every dungeon. He remembers a time when he wasn't the hunter, but the hunted, constantly fighting for his life. A world where every player was just as dangerous as the monsters, all fighting over the same scraps of power. Because in a dungeon, there are no laws, no rules, and no second chances. Only the strong survive. And as he looks at the fools who cornered him, he knows that brutal lesson still applies today. He's not just fighting them, he's laying down the law of the dungeon, and his sword is the only judge. And with a look that could curdle blood, he declares everything that happens next is just self-defense. The rest of the pack charges in, still convinced that 4-on-1 are good odds. The leader screams for them to use teamwork, completely oblivious that they're just flies in a spider's web. But the archer is already doing the math, and watching their level 100 vanguard get one-shotted wasn't part of the plan. He's supposed to be a fresh-faced rookie, but he's dismantling veterans like he's been doing this for a lifetime. And just as the archer thinks about running, Sang-hyun turns his greatsword into a homing missile. The archer can only scream as he's completely overwhelmed, learning way too late that he should have stayed home. And his last thought before being taken out of the fight is the one thing they all should have realized. This is absolute insanity. The rest of the pack can only stare, their brains short-circuiting as they ask the one question on everyone's mind. Who is this guy? And that's when the leader's brain finally catches up, realizing one critical game-changing detail. He charges in, convinced he's found the one fatal flaw in the rookie's perfect defense. Because Sang-hyun just threw his only weapon, and the thug thinks he's just caught him completely defenseless. The remaining goons coordinate their attack, ready to overwhelm the unarmed rookie from both sides. But they've forgotten one tiny detail. That sword is still pinning their friend to the floor 50 feet away. They descend on him like vultures, completely unaware they're the ones who are trapped. Because while they're celebrating their genius plan, Sang-hyun just reaches out his hand with a smirk. And with a move that defies all logic, the sword flies back to his hand just in time to block their killing blow. He doesn't just block, he shatters their formation with a single swing, ending the fight before it even began. The last man standing can only stare in horror, his mind completely broken by the impossible feat he just witnessed. He plays it off with a casual, "That was close," like he didn't just break the laws of physics. And the last 2 thugs finally realize they're not fighting a rookie, they're fighting a natural disaster. But just when you think it's over, the leader decides there's no honor among thieves. He sacrifices his own teammate, throwing him like a human shield in a last pathetic attempt to survive. But Sang-hyun isn't just strong, he's smarter, using the distraction to close the distance in an instant. The leader proves just how low he'll sink, using his own man to absorb the final blow. With the trash taken out, Sang-hyun drops the question he's known the answer to all along. Because he's not just a fighter, he's a detective, and he's just unraveled their entire disgusting operation. The leader just laughs because when you're this cornered, what's one more crime on the list? And with his last man down, he goes for one final desperate charge, screaming for a revenge he'll never get. But he's not even trying to dodge, he's just hitting the pause button on this entire fight. And with a taunt that cuts deeper than his sword, he freezes the thug solid for a full 4.4 seconds. The leader's brain short-circuits, completely unable to process how a rookie just turned him into a statue. And then the horror sinks in. He wasn't hit by a skill, he was infected by it, and there's no cure. Song-Yun doesn't even raise his voice as he delivers the final verdict, leaving the thug to wonder what he means. For the first time in his life, the hunter is about to become the hunted, and his mind is screaming in denial, because he remembers a time when he was the one in charge, surrounded by lackeys who thought he was invincible. But his entire career was built on one simple rule: betray them before they can betray you. He's not just a predator. He's the kind of monster who enjoys watching his own allies beg for their lives. And Sang-Yun hits him with the coldest question of all, reminding him that karma just came to collect. He asks the predator one simple question: how does it feel to be the prey? He wipes his blade clean, briefly wondering if all this bloodshed just cost him his shot at godhood. And then he just shrugs it off because, hey, they started it, so it's technically self-defense, right? But moral dilemmas can wait, because he just turned a PK squad into his own personal loot piñata. And just like that, the system confirms his payday: 8 new artifacts, all courtesy of the idiots who tried to rob him.